Today though, talking about, well, how do you actually sit in natural alignment? When we're taught how to have good posture, we're taught the shoulders back, stomach in, chest up, the really, really rigid posture that's next to impossible to sustain for any length of time. So I want to help you get some bullets to help you learn how can you sit in natural alignment with greater ease. Because when we have our bones stacked and lined up as they're intended to, when we can learn how to use the positioning of our pelvis to help that happen, all of these large muscle groups can just relax. And it's just so much easier and feels so much better. So I'm going to walk you through, I have 7 steps. And I have a blog that I wrote about this called How to Sit in Natural Alignment. That you can go to my blog. My blog is at wishalwellness.com. If you click on blog, it's one of the first tabs. It's the very first one that's there that I would recommend looking at because I have it written out step by step. You can actually print that out, have it next to your computer desk, your office desk, wherever you sit a lot to help really build on this foundational piece. Because the most important thing when it comes to posture, when it comes to alignment, is awareness. That's like your own awareness of how you're sitting, how you move through space is the most important thing. So the more you can recognize, when you get out of alignment, the shifts that work for your body, the better capability you have of withstanding that. So awareness is 100%. Okay, so here we go. Here are 7 steps for how to sit in natural alignment. Step number 1, the key is the pelvis. So the arrangement of the pelvis is really important in sitting in regards to allowing you to have that nice, easy posture. So you can't see it, how I'm sitting, but ideally your knees are lower than your hips. So your hips should be higher than your knees when you're sitting in a chair. Most chairs, think of maybe your car seat, think of a recliner, a couch, even those we tend to think of having bad posture, but even a lot of the big office chairs, not a fan of, because what they actually do is they, grab my pelvis, make it so that we sit on the posterior, the back side of the sacrum here, which then impacts and limits our spine being able to line up correctly. So your knees should be lower than your hips. You'll know you're in the correct position because your pelvis, if you think of your whole pelvis as a bowl, if this pelvis were a bowl and we're full of water, that water would flow out because the bowl is tipped forward. So you're in an anterior tipped forward bowl position. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is then from that position to rock your pelvis forward and back a few times. You're just going to rock forward and back. Can you feel those two? You should feel those 2 bones underneath your bum that we often refer to, if you're in a yoga class, they'll call them your sits bones. Those are your ischial tuberosities. So this is step 2, is you want to roll front and back just to feel the span. That's the front of my ischial tuberosity. Now I'm more on the back. You kind of want to be on the front middle of the ischial tuberosity. And so if you think about this anatomy for a minute, here's your pubic bone. Okay, this is the pubic bone. Here are the ischial tuberosities. That's where the hamstring attaches. You want, look at it this way, your weight to be transferring through the middle, right through the center here. That's the center of your pelvic floor. So after you find the ischial tuberosities, if this anatomy is helpful, great. If not, you can feel your own pubic bone, find your own pubic bone on your body, and imagine where is between your pubic bone and the ischial tuberosities, and imagine a string lifting you up gently from that center point. And that's going to give you that lift up from the inside, so you're not having to work really hard to stay up. You just have that natural lift. So that's step number 2. So far we've got hips higher than knees, and then find your ischial tuberosities, come to kind of the front, middle of them, and then you're gonna find to see how can you let your weight really rest in the middle between there and your pubic bone. Then let your belly be relaxed. So many of us, a lot of us women in particular, but I'm sure you men, you do it too, we suck our stomach in because we were told from someone in our life, from magazines, from whatever, that if you don't have a stomach, then, or if you have a stomach, something's wrong with you, which is silly, but we suck our stomach in, even subconsciously. So just let it hang out. And last week I shared about the breath and how sitting impacts our breath. And when we aren't able to bring breath into our belly, when we're not getting that full diaphragmatic breath, not that every single breath we do has to be deep, because that's not actually going to happen. But the more we can, even on those short, normal breaths, bring deeper into our body, into our pelvis, into our belly, the more we allow the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest nervous system, to come on play more. So the more we can be in a more healing, relaxed state and less stress. So step 3 is let your belly be relaxed. Step number 4, so each of these steps build upon each other. Step number 4 is to see if you can feel your breath in your low back. Often a lot of clients I work with, I know myself, this used to be my pattern, have an excess amount of tension that we hold in the low back. Piece of that is caused because we're sucking in our stomach all the time. The more you can help bring your breath to not only your belly, but start to feel the full dimensionality of the breath. So say this hand is my stomach, this hand is my low back. So I'm feeling that space get larger on the breath and contract, release a little bit as I exhale. You can put a hand on your belly, you can put a hand on your low back, just to have that external touch sometimes can help to find that. And that again is not only going to help you relax more, it's going to help release any extra tension and holding that's happening. It's to really help make sure you're in that natural aligned posture, and any of those large muscle groups, those erector muscles along the spine, can just let go and surrender a little bit. So that is step 4. If you are having trouble, you're like, I have no idea how to even begin to access breath in my low back, bring your hands up higher to where you can feel movement, and then see if you can just bring them a little bit lower. Okay, so that's step number 4. We have 3 more steps. Step number 5 is to really help begin to get some deep inner core engagement. So it's to build an awareness of the front of your spine. Often when we think of the spine, we just automatically think of the back, right? Because we feel the spinous processes. These guys, can you see them? Those guys, and our back. But if you think about, look at, this is a side view of the spine. Look how thick the vertebrae are, particularly when you go to the low lumbar. So that's deep within us. And the next step I'm going to give you leads into this, why I want you to build awareness of the front of your spine. But just start checking in, and this might seem totally foreign to you at first. I know to me it was in the beginning. The more I've worked with this, the more connection I feel to the front of my spine, which has allowed me to experience things a lot differently, particularly when I'm engaging with another, to really feel my center, feel my core, feel my power from the front of the spine, right? From our inherent support and strength. So just remember that our spine, we have a front of our spine, and a lot hangs out from that, right? The belly hangs out from that. We're letting the belly be relaxed, the diaphragm. And then you're going to ground and get support from your feet. So if you are sitting now as you're doing this, if you gently press your feet into the ground with like a subtle reaching forward movement, so it's just really subtle, really slow, what you should feel happening is probably an activation of the inner line, the inner thigh, up into your core. If you're not feeling that, comment below, write me a message. I'll help you. I'm giving you a lot. And sometimes it can be challenging to find this on your own. So you're going to ground and get support from your feet. So even just be aware of your feet on the ground. Can you feel the floor coming to meet your feet? And just as you're sitting there, being aware that your feet are helping to keep you upright. So you're getting uprightness from the ground up. Again, remembering and reminding us that all those large erector muscles along the spine, our neck muscles, those don't have to pull us up. We can get support from the ground. And if you do that gentle pressing into the ground with like that reaching forward motion of the feet, feeling the activation of the core, play with seeing if you can connect your feet into the front of your spine. So starting to build a connection from our feet into our spine. So connecting and integrating our body a little bit more. So that's step number 6. Step number 7 is to say you're sitting and you're working. So what I would recommend, if it's feasible with your work schedule, is set an alarm for 45 minutes and work on one task during that 45 minutes. No other tabs, no emails open, no phone on. Work focused for 45 minutes in this nice aligned posture if you're sitting, or you can have a standing desk. This applies either or. Then get up after 45 minutes when the alarm goes off. Set a second alarm anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. This second alarm is your movement break. I find when I am following this, even if it's not exactly this linear structure, but when I set a timer for my movement breaks, I am so much more intentional about them. Otherwise, I find it so easy on my breaks to scroll through my phone, scroll through my emails, scroll through Facebook, scroll through whatever. But when I have a really set intention time for movement, I move, I stretch, I squat, I feel my breath, I come back into myself. It's a really good reset. So, put my spine away. To go through the steps again, there are 7 steps in how to sit in natural alignment. Step number 1 is your pelvis is the key and the foundation, right? So you want to have your hips higher than your knees to help bring that pelvic bowl and that forward position, which is going to help the rest of your spine have the ability to be in a nice alignment. Step number 2 is to find the ischial tuberosities, also known as the sits bones. Rock forward and kind of come to the front and middle of those. Step number 3 is to let your belly relax. Let breath come in there. You don't need to suck it in. Let your belly relax. Step number 4 is to see if you can find breath in your low back, to start to just feel the full dimension from the front and the posterior, the back side of your breath. Step number 5 is to begin to build an awareness of the front of your spine and really connecting there. Step number 6 is to ground and get support. So starting to from your feet. So starting to build that connection from our feet into our spine. And finally, step number 7 is to get up and move and be intentional on those movement breaks. You know, we need to move continuously throughout the day. So help get the blood flowing, help get the circulation. I often fall into the mindset, I just don't have time. In reality, when I follow this, what I've practiced when I preach, I have more energy and focus, and I get what I need to done in a much shorter window of time. So thank you for tuning in. And you can go to my blog at wishalwellness.com. And there you will see that the very first article is how to sit in natural alignment, and it'll take you through these steps. So you can have that to reference. You can print it out, put it by your desk is what I recommend to keep reminding you. Because remember, if we're not practicing this, it's just information. To really know it, we need to embody it. And embodiment is all about awareness. Awareness is the most important thing when it comes to posture and improving your posture. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great week. Enjoy your sitting. Take care.